Ladies and gentlemen, we will call the meeting to order, meeting of May 21st. Thank you very much, staff, council, and we've got a full gallery tonight. We always appreciate that. Members of the public are invited to attend the meetings. The meeting is recorded, and any failure of the audio or video streaming or any portion thereof does not invalidate the outcome of the meeting. Welcome again. Before we begin, we'll get a land acknowledgement. We will begin this gathering by acknowledging that the lands upon which we meet is the traditional territory of First Nations people who have a long-standing relationship with the land, water, and regions of Southwest Middlesex. The nations along the banks of the Thames include the Chippewa of the Thames, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moraviantown. We convey our respect to our Indigenous neighbors and thank them for their contributions to our culture, community, our past, and partnerships of the future. Council, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on. The agenda has been circulated. Are there any errors or additions? Failing which, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as circulated. Someone move that, please. Deputy Mayor Schuldice, Councilor McCollum, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Delegations and presentations, I have been advised that there are none. Items in the consent agenda. Draft minutes of May 7th. Approved minutes of January 30th for Galveston Fire Committee. County of Middlesex correspondent to Mayor Josh Morgan, City of London, regarding regional transportation and planning and engagement. Middlesex London Health Unit. Honorable Robert Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs, letter to Heads of Council. Expanded strong mayor powers. Municipality of Chatham-Kent, notice of complete application and public meeting to consider an application for consent and zoning bylaw amendment on Peter Road. Hydro One Community Open House regarding the Long Listed Lakeshore Project. And 5-8 Ontario Provincial Police, Municipal Policing Unit and Finance Services Unit and realignment. Council, if you wish to speak to any of those, please do so. Failing which, I'll have a motion to accept the consent agenda as read. Is there a mover? No. Okay, Councilor Emmerich, Councilor McCollum. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Council, we have a committee of adjustment in our file. Let's move into that committee. Is there a motion that we may do so at 6:12? Councilor Bink, seconder. Councilor McCollum, all in favor? Carried. We'll call the committee of adjustment to order at 6:12. Any member of council declaring a conflict of interest in this committee meeting? Don, your hand's not up, is it? Okay, no problem, just checking. Okay. We'll move on. Minutes. Municipality of Southwest Middlesex, the minutes of March 19th. Committee of adjustment to be received and approved by the committee. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councilor McGill, seconder for that, please. Councilor Vink, all in favor? Carried. Committee of adjustment. Current application V1 2025 submitted by Anthony Goebbels on behalf of Beyond Custom Carpentry Incorporated, 22760 Pratt Siding Road. There is a process, an order. Planner, Alana, will you take care? Okay. Aaron can start us off, fill us in on the details, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this first application before the committee this evening is for 22760 Pratt Siding Road. The subject lands are located on the northwest corner of Pratt Siding Drive and Concession Road, which is County Road 14 in the hamlet of Pratt Siding. The purpose of this application is to sever one residential parcel of land for the purpose of constructing a single unit dwelling. The applicant is proposing a lot with a frontage of 25 meters along Pratt Siding Road, a lot depth of approximately 88 meters, and a lot area of approximately 2,206 square meters, or 0.55 acres. The lands proposed to be severed currently contain a small shed that is to be removed if the application is approved, and the lot is proposed to be serviced by private well and septic services. However, the Public Works Department does require the new lot be connected to the municipal water service, which is available along the frontage of the property. The lands to be retained would have a frontage of approximately 43.5 meters. It would be approximately 3,613 square meters, or 0.89 acres in size. The applicant has advised that the retained lands would contain the existing commercial building and associated parking area. In support of the proposed severance, the applicant has submitted a private servicing assessment, which was prepared by a qualified professional and stamped by an engineer. The assessment confirms that a single detached dwelling is also proposed on the retained lot, which would be serviced by a private sanitary system as well. The provincial policy statement, along with the county and local official plans, all permit limited development on partial services where full municipal water or sanitary services are not available. In this case, a municipal water main is located along the front property line of Pratt Siding Road, and the applicant will be required to connect both the severed and retained lots to this service. This connection is a critical requirement in my opinion. The applicant's service assessment that was submitted did demonstrate that the lots were sufficient size to accommodate septic systems. However, the conventional system was not adequate to manage the nitrate levels to the Ontario drinking water standards. It was slightly elevated in their assessment. However, the lots can easily accommodate a level 4 treatment system for these new residential dwellings, and this would adequately manage the nitrate levels in the effluent. However, conventional septic system versus a level 4 treatment system is not something that the building department can compel a new owner to provide. If they do choose to go the conventional septic system, we do require that the lands be connected to the municipal water system, just to ensure that there's no potential water contaminations coming from the new proposed septic systems. Additionally, I do want to note that the surrounding properties are all on municipal water as well, so there's no opportunity for water impacts off-site. So the proposed lot configuration is compatible with surrounding rural residential uses. However, a zoning bylaw amendment will be required for both the severed and retained lots. The severed lot does generally meet the requirements of the hamlet residential zone, which is the HR zone. This would be the most appropriate in this case, as all of the surrounding residential lots are hamlet residential as well. And a site-specific zone provision is recommended for the retained lot to allow the continued operation of the existing carpentry business alongside a new residential use. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The Southwest Middlesex Public Works Manager requires the lands to be severed. They must have an adequate and approved entrance that meets the satisfaction of the municipality, and the severed and retained lots must be connected to with their own separate water connections to the municipal infrastructure. The Southwest Middlesex Drainage Superintendent advised that a drainage reapportionment is required for this severance, and the county engineer is requiring a land dedication requirement of up to 18 meters along County Road 14 for the retained lot. And that is only if the road width is not to that dimension already. So my recommendation this evening is approval, subject to the 12 conditions that I have outlined in my report. I do want to note that since the posting of the agenda and the submission of my report, we have received several comments from the surrounding neighbors. primarily concerned with the loss of the trees on the severed lot, which would be making way for the new house to be built. Further, there was concerns in relation to the lot area being sufficient to accommodate a septic system, to which I did advise that the servicing assessment report that was submitted by the applicant does adequately address these concerns. And if there's any potential concerns surrounding drainage or water impacts on the neighboring lots, that a grading plan is always required with the building permit for the future use. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron, for that report and your recommendation. That is the first of 7 procedures that council will have to go through. The second being the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak at this time. Are they present? Yeah, would you wish to speak? You bet. Just take a chair and make yourself comfortable. Maurel will make sure, or Kendra will make sure you're wired there, and state your name for the record, and you can proceed.
Good evening, Mayor, member of council, members of council. My name is Anthony Knowles. I'm the representing the applicant. My intention this evening was to respond to questions that might arise related to the application, and more specifically, there were 2 letters that were received, as mentioned by Aaron. The first letter, which Aaron referred to, she had addressed the adequacy of the parcel size to accommodate the in-ground septic system, so I'll leave that as it is. The second one primarily relates to the row of trees that runs down the center of the property. The trees themselves, it is intended that they will be displaced in their entirety. There was some reference in the letter that hopefully the rear lot could be left intact, but that's not the case. Along the rear of the property line, both the proposed severed lot and retained lot, there is significant vegetation along its boundary, along its perimeter, and that vegetation is intended to remain intact and in place. I'm not sure that there's anything further that's, there's a lot of detail regarding habitat and so forth in the letter. That habitat, there's certainly an abundance of trees, both private and public, in the vicinity of the intersection that could accommodate habitat for birds and groundhogs and skunks and so forth. So I'll leave it at that. If there's any further questions by members of the council or members of the committee, I'd be happy to respond.
Okay. Thank you very much. In the process, you may be called on to speak again, but it's not necessary. But if you hear the invitation again, don't be alarmed. Okay. Thank you very much. Committee member remarks. Any questions that you would like to ask? Yes. Councillor Link.
Thank you, Mayor Al. Now, the existing property, it already has a septic tank or a septic system.
That is correct, yes.
And so with that septic system, it would have been built for the whole property. Is that not correct?
I believe the septic system that exists was built for the carpentry business itself.
But at one time, it was another business, so it may have been a large septic system there already.
Quite likely, my knowledge of the prior history is very limited.
So one of the concerns, I think, of the ratepayers is that there could be septic system overflow because of the number of houses in there. So is that a concern to you at all?
None whatsoever. We've had an independent servicing assessment completed by Stone Cairn Engineering out of London, and based on the testing information and percolation rates, the feasibility of an in-ground septic system is viable.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarification from Aaron, if he puts in a conventional system, he will have to tie into the municipal water system, but if he goes with this level 4 system, he doesn't have to.
Aaron, could you answer that question?
Sure, through you, the chair. The requirement from the Public Works Department, as well as planning, is that the properties be connected regardless of the system that they choose to implement. They are required to connect to municipal services. Our official plan requires that development that has servicing available make those connections. I'm not sure, if Mauro can elaborate a little bit more. For it to be a servicing standard, but certainly from a planning perspective, this is always the preferred route, and it's certainly one of my listed recommended conditions this evening.
Mauro, would you like to pick up that invitation?
Yeah, just to add, if there are municipal services that fund the property, is a requirement that they connect to our system.
Yes. Go ahead,
But
Deputy.
it's not a requirement to put in a conventional system.
That would be a question for the building inspector, because it's my understanding that there was a feasibility study and it talked about a class 4 system if there was a well. But you have to get an engineer to confirm that there's no well and what type of system can they put in.
There's lot size.
Typically, the septic systems are designed on the structure and the bathrooms, bedroom sizes. That's how they typically design septic systems.
Okay, so it's up to the builder to put whichever he chooses.
It's up to the engineer to design it.
And Mauro, if they, when they connect to the municipal system, any wells or old wells have to be decommissioned, is that correct? So there's no infiltration into our water system?
Typically, yes, that's our recommendation.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, we will, we have oral and written submissions. We have heard, Aaron, any further remarks on that at this point in the process?
No further remarks from me, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, Kendra, go ahead, please.
Please do allow anybody in the audience if there are any comments that they want to say. If they do come up, I ask that they say their name for the record.
Okay, oral applications or oral remarks? Yes, please come ahead. Yeah. Yeah, Anthony, could you, well, she's got a spot here. No, that'll work. No,
That's fine.
you bet. Thank you. Just state your name for the record and thank you very much for your participation.
My name is Naomi Clark. I live at 22780 Pratt Siding Road, within the hamlet of the application that's in question. I am the one that wrote the letter to council regarding the opposition of this application. I've also prepared something today, if you don't mind, a couple minutes of your time.
No problem. Go ahead.
So my biggest thing, this is a matter of super importance in Southwest Middlesex, as it is anywhere, and it's the protection of mature trees and the role that zoning bylaws play in that protection, and what they should play in protection of our natural environment. At present, the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw, which was established February 1st of 2024, provides the foundational regulations for land use and development. However, it does not contain specific provisions related to tree protection or mature tree retention on private lots or during construction. Tree protection in our area does fall under the Middlesex County Woodlands Conservation Bylaw 7314, which governs the injury or destruction of trees in woodlands. It's important to note at this point that what qualifies as a woodland under this bylaw, it states that the requirement is a minimum of 100 trees per hectare, Since that lot in question is set out to be 0.55 acres, that translates to 0.2 hectares. 100 trees times by 0.2 hectares is 20 trees, meaning that myself, and the rest of our neighborhood could argue that this tree line qualifies as a woodland to be protected under that bylaw. As touched upon in my previous letter to council members, mature trees play a critical role in the health and resilience of our communities. They reduce stormwater runoff, they absorb carbon dioxide and other pollutants, they improve air quality, providing habitat and preserving biodiversity, and they increase the overall visual character of our neighborhoods. When we permit unchecked tree removal, we lose not only those individual trees, but the accumulated benefits over the course of decades. Today, I'd like to ask that you consider my previous letter, which has been signed by each of the neighbors within our hamlet, and the words from others here that I assume are also going to speak today, that we're all voting against this severance based on this tree line and other issues as well. Mature trees cannot be replaced overnight. A tree that took 50 or 100 years to grow cannot be substituted with a sapling and a promise. Once lost, the benefits of that tree are lost for generations. I would also like to recommend at this time, council, to consider updating our own zoning bylaws within Southwest Middlesex and introduce specific tree preservation requirements for development applications, including mandatory tree inventories and preservation plans during site planning. I would further suggest that tree protection standards be defined for smaller lots even, as the county bylaw protects woodlands, but many smaller groves or singular mature trees are not protected, and a municipal bylaw could fill in that gap. The benefits of mature trees span through the decades. They're invaluable assets to our community. They provide ecological, economic, and social benefits. Preserving mature trees through thoughtful zoning, it's not anti-development. I am most certainly not anti-development. I'm pretty sure that many people that care for these trees or these lots, they're not anti-development. It's smart, sustainable development. It's about balancing the need for growth with the imperative to protect the green infrastructure that makes our neighborhoods healthy and resilient. So in closing, I urge this council to see zoning not just as a tool for shaping what we build, but to see it as it's how we live and how we steward our natural assets. A strong tree protection policy embedded in our local bylaws would be a clear, forward-thinking step in support of Southwest Middlesex and what we want to see, a green, healthy, and thriving community for generations to come, not just today, but future generations. And that's my take on it, and I thank you.
Thank you very much for those words. We do appreciate that. This council does have to look at it in terms of a planning perspective. We do take our tree canopy very seriously. In fact, when you look between Toronto and Windsor, Middlesex County, and particularly Southwest Middlesex, has one of the largest tree canopies between those two cities along the 401 corridor. And we take that seriously. And the county forester, we work with intimately on our development. So regardless of what the decision this council makes, I think it should be stated that Southwest Middlesex boasts about its tree canopy when we meet ministers in the provincial government. And we do take it seriously. What is known as affectionately Skunks Misery is one of the largest Carolinian forests within a 500-kilometer circumference. So regardless of the decision this council makes, we certainly do take canopy seriously. All right, any other oral submissions? Seeing none. Applicant's final remarks. Anthony, anything else on that you'd like to bring forward?
Just a couple of notes regarding the tree line that runs through the property. As noted by the previous speaker, the trees are located on private property. We intend to retain the tree line along the rear of the severed and retained parcels. The trees in question that are subject to removal, potential removal, for represent a row of planted trees, trees which were planted decades ago. The trees themselves are discontinuous from a community perspective to a larger woodlot. And the trees, in fact, represent a hazard to the subject lot and adjacent lot in their current condition.
Thank you. I interpret that your remarks are finalized on that. Council, at this point, we make the decision. The planner has given a recommendation according to the planning that has been legislated for Southwest Middlesex. We have heard from both sides of the equation. What is council's wish? Yes, Councilor Myers.
I'd like to move the recommendation.
Okay, is there a second for that? Councilor Collins, good. Any final questions? Yes, Councilor King.
Just a comment, I will be voting against this. Part of being a councillor is to represent the ratepayers, and all the ratepayers, in fact, signed the petition against this. They've already had a problem, and still are having a problem with property down the road, and the zoning has not been kept up on that property, and for those reasons, I will be voting no.
Okay, that's fine. Just remind council too, fiduciary responsibility of the oath that we take indicates that we as councilors, regardless of what ward you represent, we legislate our proceedings on the benefit of Southwest Middlesex. So I just want that to be clarified. But Councilor Link, I have no issue with that, but just to remind council of our fiduciary responsibilities. Okay, any further comments? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, please state your name for the record. Andrew Neely will give you the mic there and make sure that you're wired. Yeah, Jackie, if you could state your name for the record.
Jackie Cartier, 22770. My comment tonight is that I planted those trees with my mom and dad. And I will hate to see the trees go.
No, it has an emotional context to it, I understand. Thank you. Yeah, is there another hand there? Yeah, please go ahead.
Jim Thornton, 22759 Pratt Siding.
Okay, Jim Thornton. Yes, Jim?
Now, as you're aware, in 2021, we had a tornado come through. Took out 2 big trees that had to be over 100 years old, which was, you couldn't, there was no predicting it, and it was a tragedy. But to have somebody come in from outside and just tear up trees to build a home, which they could put it coming up off of concession, that lot instead, they wouldn't have to touch all the trees. And not only that, like, they're talking like it's not a big deal. You rip out the trees, they're just trees. They're not just trees. They're homes. We have multiple types of birds that nest in there. We have bald eagles that roost in there. They use those trees as a hunting perch, like because of rabbits under there. In the past several years, I've seen different types of hawks that nest in those trees. They're not just trees. Like it's a ecosystem in itself. And it just doesn't make sense. Like there's too much of this where people from outside just come in and they just rip up trees and they rip up bushes and by understanding, if you own a woodlot, you can't just go into your own property, your own woodlot, and cut out whatever you want. The ministry has to come in and they mark what you can and can't take. So I don't understand how this gentleman can come in and just rip up a whole tree line like that.
Personally, we can't discriminate about outside people or inside.
Okay,
We have
but
to treat
anybody,
everybody the same,
anybody.
Okay?
It's the fact that he's just ripping up trees, and they could build a lot, could they not, have it come in off concession instead? Is that not possible?
That would have to be directed towards our planner.
Yeah.
Any comments on that?
Through the chair, I have not had an opportunity to evaluate. That was not ever part of the proposal from the applicant. We can only assess what we are provided with. So I don't have a comment at this time.
Okay.
That way, in that way, both tree lines would be able to stay there and would not have to be torn out.
I think the presenter has indicated that there is a section of those trees that will remain.
Yeah.
That's been
That-
forced.
Tearing out, leaving those doesn't really make it okay to leave those, but we're gonna tear out this whole line. That doesn't really, it doesn't really justify it. And
We
make it okay.
do appreciate your remarks, but we're starting to go in a circle there.
All right, thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Could I add one last comment, please?
One brief opportunity.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Go ahead.
Naomi Clark again. I just wanted to state that if you look at the proposal for where that home is going to be and how thick those trees are, that ground cover, there is no way they're going to leave those trees up when your backyard, you're coming out your door and you're smacked in the face with a tree. Those trees are going to get taken out to be somebody's backyard. And I understand that people want to build a home and they want to enjoy a home, but not at the detriment of this. It's too much. To take out those trees is just insane. It was spoken about that they're not, that they might be unsafe. That tornado that Jim brought up that went through our community ripped apart our hamlet. Not one of those trees went down. Those are the healthiest trees in our neighborhood right now. And the rest of us lost many trees. We lost our roofs. My whole roof was gone. Yet those trees stood and they continue to stand. Jackie spends so many hours every week out there maintaining that tree line and keeping it looking great, and her whole yard looks immaculate. I just can't fathom to have this completely torn away from a whole community when all of us are against it. Thank you, that's my last comment.
Thank you. Okay, council. You've had the information presented to you. It's been moved and seconded. There is on the floor. Councilor Myers moved it, and Councilor McCollum seconded the motion. Process has been followed. All in favor of the recommendation, please raise your hand.
On recording vote, please.
Okay. Yep, I'll pass it over to you, Kevin.
All right, we'll start with Councilor Myers,
Yes.
Councilor McCallum,
Yes.
Councilor Emery,
No.
Councilor Vink,
No.
Councilor McGill,
Yes.
Councilor Higgins,
Yes.
Councilor Schuldice, or Deputy Mayor Schuldice, I apologize.
No.
Mayor Mayhew,
Yes.
5-3, it passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, yes, regarding the one on the next one, 4-2, it's in application B2 2025. Will the planner advise council of this application, please?
Yes, thank you again, Chair. Just making sure my location map is up here. Okay. So the final application before the committee this evening is for B2 2025. This is for part of Lot 6, Concession 5 in Mosa. It does not have an assigned municipal 911 address at this time. The subject property as a whole is approximately 40.1 hectares in size with approximately 533 meters of frontage along Oilfield Drive. The property is vacant of any buildings or structures and is primarily in crop production. The applicant has made the submission this evening as the adjacent property known as 3045 Oilfield Drive has constructed a shed and fence on the subject lands and are requesting to adjust the boundaries to ensure the structures are fully encompassed on the residential lot. And I do want to note that although the rear lot line is not straight, it is proposed this way to preserve as much agricultural land as possible. And the fence line itself is actually in that sort of angle. So it's really intended to ensure the fence is on the residential lot and as much agricultural land is protected as possible. There is no change to either the residential lot or the remnant agricultural land at this time. The area to be conveyed to the residential lot is approximately 564 square meters in size, or approximately 6,000 square feet in size. The provincial planning statement, county official plan, and local official plan provide for the consideration of lot adjustments such as these in prime agricultural lands for what they call legal or technical reasons. This is defined under the provincial planning statement as severances for purposes such as easements, corrections of deeds, quit claims, and minor boundary adjustments, which do not result in the creation of a new lot. Minor boundary adjustments within agricultural areas are permitted, provided the application does not result in the creation of a new lot and that agricultural activities are not adversely affected. The land that is proposed to be conveyed is not in production. It does contain the accessory structure and fence that are being used by the adjacent residential lot. In this case, staff are of the opinion that the reconfiguration of the lot boundary between these properties is minor in nature. It does not result in the creation of a new lot, nor does it affect the agricultural operations. In terms of the farmland itself, the retained parcel would be approximately 40 hectares in size, which continues to meet the minimum lot area required in the general agricultural A zone. So as a condition of approval, I'm recommending that the conveyed lands be merged on title with the lands to be enlarged, being the residential piece. This will ensure that a separate lot is not created and only a lot boundary adjustment occurs. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act, and I did not receive any comments or concerns rather from any internal departments or agencies as well as the public. So my recommendation this evening is approval of the application subject to the 6 conditions within my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If the applicant is present, it's time to speak. Yeah. Okay, Paul, how are you? Just sit down, make yourself at home, state your name for the record.
Paul McTavish, thank you, council, for listening to this. Basically, it's pretty straightforward. Unfortunately, what happened was the lot was sold 2 years ago, and the new landowner, owner of the lot, was told by the real estate company that basically his property was grass to grass, and they had no survey or anything done at the time to prove where the lot boundaries were. And very shortly after he had signed papers and it was confirmed, he put up a permanent fence. Excuse me. So as soon as we saw the permanent fence go up, we knew where the boundary lines were, and we realized there was an issue. Basically, the purpose of this fence now is to be the permanent perimeter for the fence, so he can't plant trees to encroach out into the property, which happens quite often in rural lot settings. And it's the most practical for both parties to have there. It's been a lot for a lot of years, and things do creep out. And it's unfortunate that when these things are sold, real estate was very, very hot, and so they just take out title insurance instead of the old-fashioned going out and finding the survey stakes, which only took me a couple minutes to find. They're still legible, but the real estate people don't take that time, and so the insurance company basically says, that's why they do it. So financially, for the landowner and whatnot, it's all going to be covered on insurance. I think this is the best route for the lot to go forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Committee members, any questions you would like to ask concerns? Seeing none? Any oral or written submissions on this file? None? Applicant's final remarks. Paul, I think you've got everything covered. You're welcome to speak, expand on that. Okay, good. Thank you for your engagement. Committee decision. What's your wish, Councillor Payne?
Move the recommendation.
Deputy Mayor Schultes? Okay, thank you. Questions? All in favor? Carried. I'd like to thank planning for those reports. Future meetings, committee of adjustment, staff will advise council. Adjournment at 6:50. Is that correct? Yeah. 6:50? Yeah, is there a mover that adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Councilor Myers, Councilor McCollum. All in favor? Carried. We are back on a regular agenda. We are looking at 7.1, Board of Revision. The recommendation is that Mayor Leahy be appointed to Court of Revision and act as chair for the Gardner Drain 2025, the Gould Drain 2025, and the Stinson Column Drain 2025. And that councilors, let's go, Councilor Fink, Councilor McGill, don't want to be on?
I'm assessed on the Gardner Drain
Okay,
in
no
a very
problem.
small way, so
Okay.
I think it might be better if
No
somebody
problem.
else went on this.
Councilor Fink, will you be kind enough to go on that? Okay, Councilor McCollum, can I get your participation in this? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Schultes? Okay.
3 or 6, maybe 3 or 5.
Okay, 3 or 5, okay. Why don't we do, we got 3 now. Yeah.
We need 4.
Okay.
I can step off. That's true.
No, we'll have a couple more. Okay, more than one more. Councilor Emery, you'd be kind enough to sit on this committee? Okay, thank you very much. Council, motion is before you. The members of the committee have been stated. Is the scribe got all the information you need? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Carried.
You need a mover in a second, let's go with the first.
Oh, we didn't have a mover and second for that? Okay. Okay, mover and a second for that, we'll move it. Okay, seconder, McCollum. Yeah, we got it. Moved by Schultes, seconded by McCollum. The vote again, all in favor? Carried. I see more hands this time. Okay. Okay, we call to order. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Thank you, Councilor McGill, for mentioning that. There is none. Delegations and presentations. There is a process before us. 4 particular steps. We'll begin with the report from the engineer. Thank you, Mike, for being here tonight.
Yes, typically we would deal with each drain separately, and the Court of Revision is to hear appeals against assessments. If somebody feels their assessment is unfair, more in relation to other assessments, the assessments can't be removed completely, they would have to be shifted from one property or one entity to another. So the estimated cost is fixed at this point. But if somebody feels their share is inappropriate, they can appeal, give the grounds as to why they think it is that way and where the money should be moved. Typically, appeals are written appeals in advance, 10 days in advance. A court of revision can hear a verbal appeal upon a decision of their own to accept a verbal appeal. If the verbal appeal comes in proceeding, so that is something as well. We did have, if we start with the Gardner drain maybe, we did have one written submission in advance. Our interpretation is it would be best to consider it an appeal. Concern was that property is near the bottom end of the Gardner drain, and originally there was some discussion of whether it was part of the Gardner drain or whether it wasn't. There was older bylaws that governed that portion, and it was found that that area was part of the Gardner drain, even though some thoughts were that maybe that portion wasn't, because that bylaw was not found. This report encompasses both, basically the entire length of the lower portion of the drain, including the older part and part of the newer part. The concern was that they did not want their property to pay towards some of the stuff upstream of them in the newer report. By definition, the Drainage Act, the landowner only pays for what's on the property and downstream, regardless of the age of the dotted lot. So we did advise the landowner that they weren't contributing to any work upstream of them anyway. So that information was provided to that particular property, and I have not received any response. So I think if you address the Gardner drain first, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions before we begin? And just to remind council too that we're talking about assessment. Engineering aspects are not part of this discussion. Those decisions have already been made by council, so we're looking at assessment only. And speaking on assessment, non-engineering. Thank you. Proceed there. Mike. Yes, Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. A couple of things. First of all, I was talking to one of the owners here. Ryan Minma, he wanted me to relay the message that he only asked for a cleanup on his property, and then it evolved into all this. And the second question is, I realize we can't talk about engineering, but stuff like Middlesex is paying the largest cost here, and wonder why the culvert has to be replaced at Park House. There's a bend in the drain. Wouldn't it not have still worked with the bend in the drain?
Our recommendation was to replace that culvert more so from a depth perspective. The ditch upstream is significantly higher, and by replacing the culvert, you get better drainage upstream of it. So that was the main reason.
Any further questions? Mike, anything further to say?
Yeah, no, only that because on the Gardner drain, our recommendation was to interpret the concern as an appeal. That means that the court will have to either deny the appeal or dismiss the appeal, or make alternate recommendations in some other manner. So you need to actually address the appeal, like in my opinion.
The appeal process has been made, and of course, it's one of our steps in this process. Mike, I'll start off the question. Your firm did the assessment on these, and you feel confident that you addressed this particular portion of the drain. You can substantiate the assessment levy.
Yes, we did do the assessments, and we did follow typical procedures, both from guidance over the years and also precedents through other tribunal hearings or other court proceedings that have challenged previous reports. We have not deviated from that. There was a mention about cost to roads. Any road or railway or utility is required to pay 100% of the increased cost above and beyond what you'd be doing if it didn't exist. So in this case, the cost of the culvert across the road is quite expensive. So that is a cost that the road bears. Anything above and beyond what the ditch work would cost. And cleaning out of a ditch is relatively inexpensive in comparison to the pipes that we would have to put in underneath the road. So landowners are assessed benefit where it's deemed that the benefit will occur, and the remaining costs then are distributed over the entire watershed as outlet to anybody upstream of where the work is happening.
Any questions, council? The chair, out of curiosity, would ask that individual who put in the appeal, are they present and would they like to speak? Yeah, I wanted to convey that invitation. It appears that it's not being taken. The appeal that our engineer is talking about, council, we have to deal with that. So does someone want to move the acceptance of that appeal, failing which if we do not get a motion, it fails? Yes.
Can I ask a question on
Yeah,
there?
go ahead.
And I wasn't quite clear what Mike stated there, that said there was an appeal, but then it might be withdrawn. I thought that's what.
Was it withdrawn, Mike?
We sent information in advance to the property that had made the raised the concern. We did not receive a response. So by not receiving a response, I would think that the concern is still there. Our answer to the concern is that it has been addressed. They are not, the concern that is not required because they are not contributing that. So our answer is that there's no reason for concern because what he's suggesting is done, has been done. So, but we did not receive any confirmation that there was any sort of agreement or withdrawal, or correspondence at all.
That being the case, I think it's transparent that council has to make a decision one way or another. I support the engineer's comments on that the assessment is done fairly. I'll ask again for a motion to consider the appeal, and failing which will fail. Is there a motion? Yes. Councilor Cullen?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second for that? Call again. Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion is not on the table. So the council will deem the engineering as correct. We have to make a decision on the assessment schedule that has been presented by Street and Associates. We will entertain a motion at this time. Is there a motion? Yeah, this is just regarding. Is there a motion? Yes, Councilor May. Is there a second for that? I'll second. All in favor? 1, 2, 4. All opposed? Carried. Heather, you okay? All right. Thank you, Mike. Would you walk us through the pool drain 2025?
Yes, it's similar in nature, where municipal drains typically are assessed a certain proportion of benefit and remaining outlet. That was done. We have not received any appeals to my knowledge. There's been no appeals submitted in writing. And unless there is, we don't have any further
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of the appeals, anyone present that will verbally put an appeal in? Seeing none, questions from members to Mike on this drain, on the Google drain? Any questions? Okay, I'll give you a moment for deliberation on this. Council, any conversation among yourselves on this? Any concerns? Yes, Councilor Ring.
Just point of interest, Mayor Allen, County Valley District School, County Valley District School Board has lined up for $174,000. And from what I see on the news, the provincial government is taking over the board. So I just want to make sure that they are aware of what's going on here.
Any comments on that, Mike?
No, we've had discussions with the school board during the process. They are aware, the school board is aware of what's happening, but as far as the relationship between the board and the province, I have no knowledge.
Time will tell. Okay, council, we make a decision. The engineer has presented this report. It is now time to make a decision on the Google drain. Would anyone move the engineer's recommendation? Councilor Vink, is there a second for that, please? Councilor Emery, last call for questions. All in favor? All opposed? Carried. Mike, we have the Stinson drain before us now. Could you lead the discussion on this, please?
Yes, this will be similar in nature to the previous two, with no written opinions.
Okay. No appeals committee. Any questions from members? Seeing none. Any deliberations you'd like to make among ourselves? None. Decision has to be made on this. The recommendation of the engineer be accepted as presented. Is there a mover and a seconder for this, please? Councilor McCollum? Councilor Vink? Boy, hands are hard to get tonight. You guys have your hands in your pockets. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you very much, Mike, for that. Let's adjourn this quarter revision at 7:06. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councilor Myers? Oh, I can't take your vote. I can't take your vote. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Councilor Joldes? Yeah, Councilor Vick. What would I do without you guys, eh? All in favor? Good. We're back to our regular agenda. We're looking at the Hagel drain. Council shall consider the report prepared by Street Associates. For us, Mike, you can give us an overview of the work that is required.
Yes, this report was prepared in accordance with Section 4 of the Drainage Act for a new municipal drain. It is located within the urban area of Glencoe. There is an area, I'll say south of Anderson Drive, or Avenue, sorry, that collects surface water in the rear yards of a number of properties. It's low-lying land that is trapped and cannot get out to any particular drain that's there now. There are drains out along the roads that service some of the area, but there's nothing at the back of the houses now. So the petition was to extend a new municipal drain from a sufficient outlet being at the road back into the area that is collecting water. So we are proposing a relatively short drain, a little less than 50 meters in length, with catch basins to capture some of that surface water and transport it into the municipal storm sewer system. That's along Anderson. We do know that some of the storm sewers along the street system that make their way, I'll see, easterly towards Dundonald and then into the Leonard outlet drain are undersized from an urban standpoint, the design servicing standpoint now, and that the capacity of that system won't be fully utilized until some future upgrades would be done. There are systems there and they will work, and they'll work to the best of their ability and under smaller events be sufficient. But in a larger rain event, there may be a delay until some of the water can get away. But currently, there's nothing there at all. So we're not proposing to try to reconstruct the urban storm sewer system downstream at this time, but recommend that in the future, the municipality consider future improvements on that particular area.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions from any affected property owners present? I see no hands. And with some of us on council are aware, Mike, of the history of that. I do live in close proximity to that. I know that some of these heavier rain events have caused problems there. Any requests for those present to add or remove their name to the petition? Seeing none. Comments or questions from members of council? Address Mike to the chair. Are there any? Yes, Deputy Mayor Schultes.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe this question is to Mike. Under sections 29 and 30 for allowances, will there be any compensation for right-of-way or damages caused by the construction?
Yes, there is going to be right-of-way and damages both provided to the owners based on disturbed area and working space. There is a fence along once you get back far enough away from the road. So we determine the best place to sit and work physically. We will be restoring the property, but there still will be some inconvenience and damages caused, so the landowners will have to spend some time and effort to get the property back to its original condition. They're not large, that's not a huge sum of money. The land will be, because it's a buried pipe system, the land will be able to be continued to use in its current form. The only restriction that I would say that could potentially apply is if somebody wanted to build a shed or a structure in close proximity to where the pipe would be, that they do so at their own risk of having to potentially move it in the future. But that's particularly why some of the right of way is provided. But it is part of the report, part of the cost.
Okay, any further comments? Yes, follow up, go ahead.
I'm going to give up the assessment. How many catch basins are there going to be?
There is going to be 2 catch basins. One is going to be behind the sidewalk on the south side of the road. Currently, there's an existing catch basin in that area. We'll be replacing it with a new one. And then a new catch basin installed in the rear yards in the lowest spot of the property where the petition is particularly is trying to address.
Okay. I remind council that we have a responsibility to address stormwater management. We know that these projects are necessary, and we also know that climate, whether you call it climate change or differentiation in rainfalls, it's extremely important to manage stormwater. Any further questions? The decision is to give first and second reading of the bylaw if required and if passed. Is there a mover and seconder? Okay, Councilor Myers, Councilor Haggett, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move on, Mike, to the McCann Trillium Drain 2025. Walk us through this, please.
Yes, this report is prepared in accordance with section 4 of the Drainage Act. It is a resubmission of the previous report that came before you. It was referred back due to some concern raised by the Conservation Authority. So there were some alterations made to the proposal. There was, originally there was a swale recommended or requested to be constructed along the west side of the McCann Brothers property, I say north of Trillium Drive, at the very upper end of the municipal drain. But due to the concern of the wetland in the bush area owned by Middlesex County, we have removed that particular feature, and the landowner will rely on their own drainage in the field to take care of that area. And the other thing was that we altered, we will not be disposing of some of the material along the slope within the wooded area. The Conservation Authority did not want us to do that, so that's been altered to stockpile material outside of that particular area. But other than that, the project is the same. It's approximately 550 meters of 15 and 18-inch diameter pipe, starting at the outlet, running northwest upstream and across Trillium Drive to the north side of the road. And that's not open to questions.
Okay, thank you. If there's any questions from property owners, please present them now. State your name for the record, and council will ask our engineer to address them as best as we can. Seeing no hands, request from those present to add or remove their name from the petition. Comments or questions from our council? Any? Oh, yeah, Councilor McGill, go ahead.
There's some fairly big drains there. I added up the total. 5 drains came to $1,134,100. And maybe I should have added up how much of that the municipality is going to have to pay, but it's a large amount. I think on the Gardner drain alone, it was 96,000, I think, our share. And we don't get any grants from the province or the federal government to help out with that. So it comes from the tax fees. So drainage is one of our biggest costs, but it's also one of our biggest responsibilities to provide that for people who ask for it and need it.
No, your words are right. Any further questions? Yes, Councilor Mink.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Mike, the conservation areas in the watershed area here, do they have to pay any towards this drain?
Yes, the property is assessed. They have water that would leave the property and get into the drain.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, go ahead.
Is it assessed at a lower rate?
Typically, bush areas and wet areas that are not drained are assessed at a lower rate. Farm fields will have faster runoff on the surface, and they don't have the vegetation to absorb it, but they also have some surface drainage in terms of private tiling that get installed to deliver water to the drain. So they are assessed at a lower rate.
Okay, any further questions? Last call. Council, what's your decision on this? First, the recommendation, first and second reading of the bylaw, and we are asking if the engineer's report will be accepted at this time. Councilor Link will move it. Second for okay, Councilor McCollum. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. There's a zoning bylaw now. Bylaw application P3 2025 submitted by Civic Planning and Design, in care of Dan Murphy on behalf of RDA Developments, north side of Mappin Road. Planner will present the report to staff at this time, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So So the purpose of this presentation is to provide council with background information regarding the subject proposal. And the purpose of the public meeting is to facilitate feedback from the community. Following the public meeting, staff will consider all public and agency comments received and provide an evaluation report, which would include a recommendation for council's consideration at a future meeting. So the purpose and effect of this application is to rezone the subject lands from the residential first density zone to a site-specific residential third density zone to permit townhouse dwellings, in addition to permitting several special provisions for the R3 zone. So the applicants are proposing to construct 10 townhouse dwellings, each to have a covered porch off the rear, and the lands are to be accessed via a driveway off of Appin Road. So the applicants are requesting the following special provisions for the R3 zone. So a rear yard depth of 2 meters, whereas the parent R3 zone would require a setback, or a front yard depth, of 7.5 meters, an interior side yard width of 2.95 meters, whereas the parent R3 zone requires 4.95 meters, a rear yard depth of 5.5 meters, whereas the R3 zone requires 10.5 meters, a maximum lot coverage of 46% of the lot area, whereas the R3 zone permits 35%, and then landscaped open space of 27% of the lot area, whereas the R3 zone does require a minimum of 30% landscaped open space. And then in addition to those site-specific provisions, the applicants are requesting for the site-specific zone to also allow covered porches to encroach up to 1.55 meters into a required interior side yard, whereas the zoning bylaw only permits yard encroachments for up to 2.5 meters in either a front, rear, or exterior side yard. So each of the townhouse units are to contain an attached single vehicle garage, and they're also to have a driveway that can accommodate 1 parking space per unit. And the driveway for the subject property includes on-site waste collection turnaround and snow storage, and that would be in the form of a hammerhead. I can show the concept plan here of the proposal. So over here is Appin Road. I'll try to zoom in a little more. Over here is Appin Road, and this is the hammerhead with snow storage proposed on either side. So the subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned residential first density at this time. And it's important to note that the municipality's sanitary system is experiencing capacity constraints, in particular during wet weather conditions. So therefore, sanitary connections are generally not permitted at this time. Although the municipality is undertaking upgrades to the sanitary force main and Victoria Street pump station to address any capacity constraints on the existing system, and this would need to occur prior to any development taking place. So as part of the application, a noise study, servicing brief, archaeological assessment, architectural drawings, planning justification report were submitted, and the noise study, servicing brief, and civil drawings have been reviewed by a third-party consultant. Staff would also like to note, per the Planning Act, developments consisting of 10 or less residential units are exempt from the site plan control process, and this would typically deal with more detailed design of the development and would also require applicants to enter into a site plan agreement. So in terms of comments received during circulation, agency comments were received from the Public Works Manager, the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the Deputy Chief Building Official, the Drainage Superintendent, and the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, and these comments are all included within the report. And after the writing of the report, a comment was received from the county engineer who advised no concerns or no comments, in terms of public comments, with regard to the public comments we received, after the writing of the report, comments were submitted from 3 individuals. So comments were received from Lindsay and Elizabeth Adema, who advised they have concerns with the number of proposed units, the impact on their property value, as well as concerns regarding the mature trees that they have on their property, as they do not want these trees to be damaged. And comments were also submitted by Dave Gerber, who expressed concerns about snow removal, in particular snow storage on Appin Road, concerns with headlights shining into his home, the cost to connect to sanitary, the narrow driveway, no visitor parking, and the noise from the Glencoe Operations Center. And a member of the public did reach out with other questions, but no formal additional submission was provided. So staff recommend that the report be received for information and that staff provide a subsequent report evaluating the application, taking into account all public and agency comments received, with a recommendation for council's consideration at a future meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak at the present. So go ahead. Please state your name for the record, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and council pleased to be here this evening. I did,
And your name, please.
sorry, Mike Davis with Civic Planning and Design based in London. I did share a few visuals with the clerk and I see that she has them on the screen, so I'll just refer to these periodically here in my notes. They add a little bit more context to the report from planning. I'm here on behalf of our clients, Arbide Developments, to speak to the zoning bylaw amendment application that is blocking 2 properties on Appin Road here in Glencoe. With me this evening, I have Lewis and Tyler Arbide from Arbide Developments. They're a family-owned company with deep roots and a mission here in southwestern Ontario, building thoughtful, mature lifestyle developments. Lewis is the owner of IECS Group, which is a major precast concrete production company based in Rodney in Elgin County, major employer in West Elgin. Arbide Developments, we can just skip back to the last slide. Yes, perfect, right there. That's sort of the one with the completed project. Their most recent project was the Ridge in West Lawrence, so this just gives you a kind of sampling of what is generally intended for this site. This is a 22-unit bungalow townhouse development that was completed earlier this year. It's now almost fully occupied. So it's a similar form of development that's being contemplated for this site, albeit 10 units as opposed to the 22. I want to thank Elena and Morrow in particular for their work in preparing this report and having this on this evening's agenda. Elena is really giving you the critical kind of background information about the details of the zoning bylaw amendment and proposal. So I'll just be brief in touching on that. We'll go to the next slide. And we'll just skip to the next one. So what's being proposed here is what we feel is a modest kind of intensification of these 2 vacant and fully serviced residential lots, introducing 10 one-bedroom bungalow townhomes across two separate buildings. The intent here is to provide basically an attainable, ground-oriented type of housing that meets the needs of seniors or empty nesters who want to age in place here in the community. We also know from the experience of Lauren that this will draw residents not just from Glencoe, but from across Elgin, Middlesex County. For this particular plan, Arbide Developments is looking at it's a 1-bedroom floor plan, each unit having approximately 880 square feet. So that really differentiates this product from other similar products that are being developed in Glencoe. Each unit, as Elena noted, is going to have an integrated private garage. There's an outdoor covered patio in the backyard for each of the units, kind of balancing comfort, privacy, and accessibility of those units. We've also designed the site to accommodate a turnaround area at the rear for service vehicles, so your emergency vehicles, your waste collection, deliveries, ensuring kind of ease of access and that there's no conflicts on the county road. What we feel here is that this proposal really aligns with residential infill policies of the Southwest Middlesex official plan, supports the goals of gentle infill, housing diversity, and this location along Appin Road is specifically one that is targeted for this type of infill development. Elena touched on some of the short-term servicing challenges here in Glencoe, which we're aware of. We've been in communication with staff about those, so we understand that in the interim there'll be, some type of a hold on the property until those improvements are made. Arbide Developments is keen on moving this forward once the improvements are in place. That kind of earliest opportunity. So really for this evening, want to thank everyone for the time and consideration, understanding this is just an information meeting. We'll be here and are available to address questions from residents and council. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike, for that. Council, Mike, if you could just stay there for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
If there's any questions for council, are there? Yes, Councilor Bingham, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mike, will you be talking to the couple of the people that had comments there?
Yeah, absolutely. What we'd be very pleased to do, we haven't had contact with them prior to today. So hearing those comments today and seeing them come through planning, we felt the opportunity to kind of have some dialogue with them about specifically issues that come up during future construction. I know there were some issues noted about tree preservation, things like that, fencing, certainly things that we can coordinate with neighbors on and would appreciate that opportunity. So, Alana, if there's a way to, I know that you're not necessarily able to share their private information. If there's a way to facilitate some exchange of email addresses, phone numbers, we'll absolutely have those conversations.
Yep, they can be provided. Alana, you believe?
Or I can, I'll authorize you to send my contact information. Maybe that's easier, and then we can start the dialogue that way.
Sounds good. CAO is nodding her head in agreement, so that's something we'd like to attain. Mike, thank you again. We'll just proceed through the process here. Yes, yeah, go ahead. Councilor remarks.
Well, will these have basements or are they slab on grade?
The intent here is these will be slab on grade.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, are there any oral submissions or delegates if applicable? Seeing none, no written submissions. Applicants' final remarks, you're all done there, Mike?
I think we're good.
Okay,
Thank you, Bill.
good.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Council, the recommendation is before you. And of course, you realize that we have some work on infrastructure to do to make this become a reality. That's necessary. At this point, the recommendation is before you. What is your wish, Council? Councilor Haggett?
I'll move it.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Myers, Councilor Myers. Last call for questions. It's a different type of housing, Council, that I think there's a need for. And not everyone wants a two-story, four-bedroom house. And I think this will address our place for it. All those in favor? Yes. One question.
We're voting on just to prepare a report.
That's exactly right, yeah. Yep.
Just wanted to clarify.
That report will indicate that we'll have to make sure that there is capacity in servicing these lots. And that's important. All in favor on the recommendation? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at number 8 on our agenda. Association of Municipalities of Ontario, delegation request, verbal update will be given. 75. You bet, okay. 75. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 75, council composition, do you want to address that?
Yeah, this is just a public meeting. It's an opportunity for anybody who wishes to make comments. We have received, I received 0 written comments regarding council composition, so this public meeting is due diligence for the notice bylaw. So I haven't had anybody register, so if anybody is here that wants to speak on the changes to council composition, they may. And if not, then the meeting would be closed.
Okay, thank you, Kendra, very much. Yes,
I'm sorry, I can't hear what she's saying because she's facing away.
okay.
What is it she's asking? Somebody that they want to make comment?
On council composition.
I just can't hear it. That's
Yeah, the public have been invited to make comment on the composition of council.
Okay.
And there is a recommendation that council have made to reduce the size of council. We have one of the larger councils in Middlesex, and it comes with some baggage. The reason I have strong mayor policies is because we're larger than 6. So, that question has been addressed. There's no threat of a mayor firing or hiring anybody. And at this point, anyway. And so, yeah, it's part of our process to have the public. Anyone wish to speak to this? Failing which, Kendra? Yeah. Oh, Councilor McGill? Yeah.
I just wanted, through the mayor, to ask how this was advertised, because I think most people in Southwest Middlesex are totally unaware that this is gonna happen.
It was on the website as per the notice policy.
Okay, we abided by all regulations. Both the CAO and our clerk are in agreement that due process has been made. Any further questions? Okay, at this point, Kendra just dies, so to speak. Okay, good. No resolution has to be made. Section 8.1, Chief Administrator Officer regarding AMO delegations. Amanda, could you walk us through this, please?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm just offering to council a verbal update for your awareness that the delegation request to meet with members of ministers of provincial government for the upcoming Association of Municipalities in Ontario conference in August are now open. That means we have the opportunity to submit a request for a meeting with a specific minister on a specific topic. And the deadline for those submissions is May 30th at 5 p.m. And I know you're aware you receive emails, but wanted to ensure publicly you remain aware of the opportunity. And if there was any council direction on any delegations that you'd like to see submitted, I'd be happy to take them, either as a group here or have those private discussions as well to make sure we're advocating on behalf of the municipality at the conference to the best of our ability.
Council, any questions? Yes, Councilor McGill.
Yeah, just to refresh me, what's the protocol with this? How do we go about deciding what delegations we make? Is this something that's supposed to be approved by council, or?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So as I'm new to the municipality, this is my first annual conference with Southwest Middlesex. So I unfortunately not speak to the past practice that has been involved in submitting delegations. I am happy to identify specific delegations on behalf of council and make submissions, but in my previous work areas, I've always offered the opportunity to council to provide direction and or to provide comment on any delegations they wish to see represented.
Yeah, because at Roma, and you were there, we had 2 delegations. One was with Hydro One about the power line that's coming through, and that's still happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it would be useful if we met with them again.
Yes.
And then the other one was to get a grant towards servicing the industrial site, I believe, correct?
Yes.
So are there other grants?
Yeah, there, recently, this evening, I received a letter from the Minister of Infrastructure, Minister Sermon, and our application was denied. Yeah, you can serve, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, for that clarification. So I was initially confused by that notice, thinking it was related to our recent application for the industrial sanitary pump station. However, I think that letter is actually in response to our initial application, which was for the force main. So there was an intake 1 and intake 2. And we met with Minister Surmat at the Roma conference for intake 1, which was the force main. We were not successful in that application, so they're following up. Initially, I was worried it meant we did not receive our intake 2, but when I read it again, a little calmer. I don't think that that's what that letter is saying at this time.
Council, that communication will be on the consent agenda.
If I might continue, if you want a motion maybe, to say council supports these delegations, why don't we have a delegation to talk to Hydro One again, and a delegation to talk to somebody from the Ministry of Infrastructure about grants on various, do we need to nail down what the grants would be for? Because there's lots of things coming up, there's a huge amount that's gonna have to be spent on drainage in Glencoe, and the municipal portion of that has to be paid by the municipality. So if we get a grant to help out with the municipal portion, not the portion that the ratepayers in Glencoe are gonna have to pay, but the municipal portion of it, that helps everybody in Southwest Middlesex, not just the people.
No, infrastructure is,
So, you know, that would be a good thing to ask for a grant, and then there's more, all we're doing so far as the storm, or the sanitary sewer is, we're putting in the sewer line from the Victoria Street pumping station to the sewage lagoon, but the next phase is the Victoria Street pumping station upgrade, I believe. And so could we ask for money towards that?
Morrow, I think you wants to get engaged, please go ahead, Morrow.
Through the mayor, yeah, so there's 2 phases, yeah, there's the upsizing of the force main, and then there's the improvements to the Victoria Street pump station. I don't think we can apply for funding for the Victoria Street pump station because that project has already started and it's commenced, but I'll look through Amanda to help with that. But those are the 2 phases right now.
Okay, I realize once we start on the project, we can't apply for a grant on it, but I wondered in this case, since we're only starting on the first phase of it, maybe we could get a grant on the second phase, but I don't know.
We'll certainly be aggressive in chasing that down. Councilor, first of all, Deputy Mayor Schultz, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Allen. When you people go to the conference, I think maybe we should mention about the transfer site, the Trillium, or the Trillium landfill site. That's going to be the biggest cost going. That maybe we could get some grant somehow through that.
It can be investigated, I'm sure. Again, I know this has been talked about, but we certainly will. Mike, go ahead, please. Thank you, Mayor.
Just to confirm, the pumping station is part of phase 1, right?
Through the mayor, no, it's phase 2. Pumping for phase 1 is the force main, the upsizing of the force main. The reason why we phased it was because we needed ECA approval through the ministry for the pump station. We didn't want to hold up both projects. We didn't need an approval for the upgrading of the force main, so we went ahead and started that. So that project is set to start hopefully May 20th. We'll be stripping soil and then bringing crews on June 2nd to put that force main in.
Behind the pump station?
Yes. Yeah. The first week of June is when the permitting that they're going to start breaking ground there. And then the pump station, we just received word from the ministry, the draft ECA that they've approved, and they sent it to us for review. So hopefully the engineers will review it, have no other comments, and send that back to the ministry, get final approval, and then we go to tender for the upgrades to the pump station. I'm hoping to get that tender out next week. And then hopefully we're going to time that with the approval from the ministry. So yeah, we're waiting for the ministry, so we heard some good news that we've got something back. So now we're going to move forward with that.
Okay. Any announcements of grants premature? Say anything on that?
Okay.
All right, well, I can assure council that our administration are chasing money. Okay, we will certainly advise council at the appropriate times. What what our success rate has been. That was a very lengthy letter from Minister of Infrastructure, and I'm sure that'll be circulated to council, and you can read it with interest. It's big figures, billions of dollars are putting into it, but we certainly hope that we get a portion of that. Okay, thank you. Yep.
So do we need a motion to pursue these delegations, or now that I've brought it up, is that enough?
Yeah, I think it would be in order. The staff are directed by council, and if there's a motion to direct administration to pursue delegations at AMO.
Okay, I'll suggest we have two delegations, one with Hydro One about the municipal compensation we will receive for this transmission line going through, and how they would like us to spend it, because I do realize they want a little input in how we spend it. And also that we have a delegation with the Ministry of Infrastructure, various infrastructure projects we have coming up. I won't make it any more specific from that.
Councilor Vink's interest in drilling, Ministry of the Environment, should be put in there as well.
Okay, we can add that too, because we spent all the reserves that we had for both sites on Limerick, did we not?
Not all
No, most of them.
a lot.
Okay, no, we'll certainly add, I suggest that we add Ministry of the Environment to those two. So those three ministries we'll try to address at AMO. I will be going. Yeah, are you going?
You want a second for that?
Yeah, I will get one. Second. Councilor Hagan. We're going to chase money. Knock on doors. All in favor? Carried. Okay. 8-2, clerk, there's none. Finance, none at this time. Public Works regarding single service chip seal program. Mauro, would you like to walk us through this?
Yes, through the mayor and council, before your report regarding sole sourcing our single surface treatment program to Middlesex Center. I think this is a great opportunity to collaborate with another municipality by utilizing their established chip seal program. Partnering with them demonstrates strong municipal cooperation, leverages their proven expertise in public servicing. Middlesex Center has offered to complete the chip seal using their internal resources at an estimated 35% cost saving compared to last year's 2024 tendering results. These savings represent an excellent value for taxpayer dollars. By taking advantage of this cost-effective option, we can redirect savings to resurface additional road segments in 2025, ultimately achieving more work with the same approved public works budget. Middlesex Center has over 25 years of experience delivering this type of surface treatment on their own road network, ensuring we're getting a high-quality result for a trusted and capable municipal partner. Now, this approach aligns with the roads needs study and council's broader goals of infrastructure renewal, financial efficiencies, and municipal partnerships. It allows us to act quickly, efficiently, and in a way that makes best use of our budget for the benefit of our residents. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you for that. I like this now as a 35% savings. Council, any concern? Councilor McGill?
Yeah, that section there on Cole Drive from Tim's Road to Dundonald, even though I think we did it 6 years ago, it really needs to be done again. And then the Pratt siding one, that's just a block that was missed last year because there was a culvert going through. So that'll be to finish off the job that we started last year.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'll move the recommendation.
Is there a second for that, Council? Councilor Hagan? Question? Deputy Mayor Schultes?
Learn crew community road work there and patching up before they start this.
Yeah, typically we'll do the best we can to patch we'll patch the potholes, and we'll do any edge work that's required in order before they start. Yeah, that first section just off at 10's I'm a little concerned about, because it's breaking up pretty bad and we might have to do some double coats. But I've already spoke to Middlesex Center, they're gonna come out
good. I like that cooperation. Yes, Councilor Link?
Thank you, Mayor Al. Tomorrow, is there a time limit on this? Like say, after 1 year, we're not satisfied with this arrangement, or the next council is there a time limit on this? Or in other words, can we cancel this, say the following year?
Yeah, through the mayor, this is just for this year. And then, yeah, and I'll come back to council next year for the budget to sole source again as per our procurement policy.
Sounds good. And it has been moved by McGill, seconded by Haggett, that the recommendation be accepted. Chair will call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Morrow, very much. Andrew, thank you for waiting patiently there. The Downey Drain, can you walk us through this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Downey Drain was originally constructed under 1950 report. And since then, there are no records of any additional engineer's reports that were done to this drain. In early April, the property owner contacted staff to express concerns with regards to the condition of his access bridge, his culvert bridge. And he also indicated that given that the culvert was undersized, that staff didn't think that it was a good idea to replace the culvert privately, given that if it's undersized, then the problem was only going to continue going forward. Additionally to this, there have been significant changes upstream in the watershed, including property severances and installation of new municipal drains and improved municipal drains, that further maintenance activities, such as the clean out on this drain, using the old engineering report to assess if the cost would be unfair. It's at this point that I would recommend that the council accept the request under section 78 of the Drainage Act from the owner of Range 1 South, lots 18 to 19, for the replacement of the access bridge and improvements to the down drain in the former Mosen Township. And open for questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions on this? Yes, Councilor Mink.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. To Andrew, what about the private bridge? How is that going to be costed, or in every case, is a private bridge reinstalled?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if it was to be done privately, then it would be solely the cost of the person who would be using the bridge, if it was private. But given the fact that the existing bridge is too small, it would be a bad, liable position for the municipality to give that owner recommendations on the size of the bridge for the municipality and himself, that there could be flooding, there could be erosion if there's a mistake or if there's an oversight on that sizing. So that's the reason why I think that it's best under the new engineer's report.
Okay, yes, follow up, go ahead, one.
So when the other ratepayers have to pay towards this bridge, since there was, why I'm asking that is that this was installed without municipal permission. So when the other ratepayers in the watershed area have to pay towards this bridge.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. It is standard practice in most municipalities, including this one, that there be some cost sharing broken up upstream. And so the largest share towards that bridge would be under benefit in the assessment schedule, and the remainder would be under outlet. So basically, no one else upstream gets benefit to that bridge. However, those people's properties upstream, their water has contributed to the normal decay of that culvert. And so that's why they're being assessed a portion towards that. So they're paying for their water damage.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I remind council that this is a section 78 that we're dealing with. Property owners have every right to submit them. Okay. Council, there's a recommendation before you. what is your wish on the Downey drain? To accept the recommendation as presented?
I'll move it.
Okay, second for that? Councilor Hagan. Last call for discussion. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Andrew. Community services and facilities, there's none this evening. Fire, there is none. Building, there is none. Planning at this time, none. Brings us to number 9 of the agenda, the notice of motion regarding the pollinated gardens. Council Deputy Mayor Schultes has submitted this. Mike, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. The bush behind these gardens has been Jason Broderick and his team. Jason is retiring in June and hopes that this formal recognition sent a clear message to the Thames Valley District School Board. His work is valued and worth sustaining for generations to come. And we all have a copy of the motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep, I know Jason, and it is a contribution to our environment. Any questions from council? You wish to address through the chair, Mike? Seeing none, you will move that. Deputy Mayor, is there a seconder for that? Councilor Hagan, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Correspondence and petitions, none. Unfinished business, none. New business, items removed from the consent agenda, none at this time. Any other business council like to put on? Okay. None at this time. County Council and conference updates, there are none. Announcements. Are there any? Seeing none. Closed section pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Yes.
There's one. Okay. Then a recommendation is in order that Southwest Middlesex Council be temporarily adjourned at 7:55 p.m. to prevent holding a meeting in closed session for the purposes of a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, or financial or labor relations, information supplied in confidence to the municipality or the local board, which, if it's disclosed, could reasonably be expected to be prejudiced and significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, a group, or an organization. Is there a mover and a seconder for this, please? I'll move it. Councilor Lake, will you second it?